Hello and welcome to Hello and welcome to Watch from Home Theater. Our way here at IGN and Cinefix to watch movies together, even while we're apart, and screw up the intro as often as possible. Today we are celebrating the 25th anniversary of Bad Boys, Michael Bay's first film. So fire up your Netflix, get the original Michael Bay masterpiece queued up over there, and join us for this watch along. And of course, by us, I mean myself, Clint Gage, and IGN's Max Scoville and Michael Swaim. Guys, how you doing?
Hi, Clint.
Hey.
Thrilled to be here. Happy to be celebrating with you from the safety of my home. Thank you for lowering the expectation bar right from the top. I love that.
Right.
That's good for me.
I wanted to make sure you guys were comfortable just right out of the gate.
Mm-hmm.
So no pressure whatsoever.
No, I feel good about this. You know, this is good. I'm incredibly proud of Bad Boys for surviving for 25 whole years. Sure. Bad Boys, the movie, is now old enough to rent a car.
Yep.
Which it would probably crash. So, like, you know, happy birthday, Bad Boys.
In spectacular fashion, though.
Sure. They can rent the car that they're hauling the boat with that's on a chain on the freeway.
Swinging into the helicopter, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. It's all nice and legit now. So, like I said, we're still working from home here, and I'm, of course, stuck in a corner of my garage, which, as a father of two, is literally the only place on earth that I can call my own at the moment. Where are you guys coming from?
Let's go from best to worst. Max, okay. Where are you coming from?
Max, I see Boba Fett behind you.
I have like something. A sort of a spare room, I guess. It's kind of my little office study dungeon. I got a bunch of like weird stuff on the walls. Yeah, this was sort of a guest room / sometimes office type place, and then suddenly it was like, oh no, this really needs to be an office. And so I proceeded to start decorating it with, action figures and nonsense. And I really did feel like a 16-year-old, which was, I think that's the first time I've stapled a Boba Fett to my wall since I lived with my mother. So.
Whereas I moved from LA to San Francisco in the midst of the quarantine with masks and gloves. But as you can imagine, like, assistance was limited. So we had to ditch like 30% of our furniture on the side of the road. And that we responsibly gave it away for free on Craigslist and waited. But point is, I'm in a giant empty room because that's all I have right now.
Oh,
all my rooms look like that. There's my creepy articulated hands.
Ooh, hey, we got the same crappy lamp.
I got
one of those too. Look at that. I got one right there.
Nice. Actually, my girlfriend uses it to do her amazing nail art. This is some kind of UV thing. I don't know.
Oh yeah, my wife has one of those too.
That's all that's set up. That's it.
It's a good way to get really hazardous fumes just inside your house, and also look at a thing that will give you eye cancer because it's got the UV rays coming out.
Oh yeah. It's heavy with fume in here, and I think that will really enhance my viewing experience. So I'm ready to rock. I got my cold bananas that I'm waiting to warm up enough to eat.
Sure. We'll be
classic Bad Boys.
Cold bananas, Bad Boys. What more could you ask for?
We'll be sure to check in on get a banana update from you throughout the screening.
That's all I have.
Check in on Swaim's Nanners throughout the entire runtime of Bad Boys. Like I said up top, we will be streaming this. We're going to be watching this on Netflix. So you're going to have to go to Netflix and get it queued up. It's there for free. I believe it's also on Apple TV Plus. So whichever place you want to go and watch it, odds are you own the movie as well. So just get it queued up from the beginning. And I'll give you just a couple of seconds to do that, to get it queued up. And in the meantime, I've got other announcement news. We've got we can officially announce we've got Gary Whitta and Chris Weitz joining us next week to watch Rogue One. So That'll be cool. So in terms of setting bars, low bars to clear, we thought we would just get the three of us together to watch Bad Boys this week and get them in next week to watch Rogue One.
And for people who are just like finding their way into work from home theater, you had so far we've done The Invisible Man with. Can you go over those?
Invisible Man. Yeah. We did The Invisible Man with Lee Winnell the first week, and we watched Night of the Living Dead with Greg Nicotero last week. Which those are still up and out. You can watch those on VOD. They're fun little fun audio commentaries.
My point is, I'm sorry, it's just us this time.
I'm okay with it.
I'm okay with it too. I should also mention that wherever you are watching this home, if you're on, we're on IGN and Cinefix on YouTube. You can also check out IGN's Discord. And if you have any questions for us or comments, let us know in wherever you're watching it. And we've got people watching the comment section. So if you have any questions about Bad Boys that we can answer, let us know there, and we'll be sure to ask them on air. For example, Art today in Discord has a comment. Clint's mustache makes me feel bad for not keeping my facial hair in check during quarantine. I think he's talking, I think that's a bad thing for my mustache. Is he making fun of my mustache, or is he wishing he had one?
I think he's saying you've got that thing under control. You're doing, you're taking care of it.
You've tamed it.
Great.
I recently over trimmed, and now I have the creepy too much space on the lip mustache.
You got too much lip there.
I got a couple days. Yeah.
All right. Well, everybody's probably got the movie queued up by now, so let's get into it, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So everybody, just get ready to hit play in 3, 2, 1. Play. Thank you for the point. If you couldn't hear me counting, you could at least claim.
Visual impulse tied to sound. Let's talk about
the name of the game.
Let's start with the basics of film grammar. All right, you've got your match shot and your master shot. I was just gonna say, 25 years ago puts us in 1995. Did you guys sneak into the theater to see Bad Boys? I remember sneaking into the R-rated screening of Bad Boys as a not quite old enough to see an R-rated movie guy.
I saw this on HBO, I believe the following summer at my friend Devin Gilroy's house while his mother was working, and we were allowed to watch all sorts of bawdy films on that fine premium cable platform.
Yep. I have not seen Bad Boys, so I'm excited for this.
Oh boy.
Oh, we should have led with that.
Well, I do love the genre, and I've seen Bad Boys 2 as like a noted masterpiece of action. And Bad Boys is up there with like Godfather 2 on my list of like, I'm ashamed that I haven't watched them yet, but I haven't watched Godfather 2 either, just the first one.
I just appreciate getting Bad Boys and Godfather Part 2 in the same sentence this early in watching.
Same pantheon, for sure.
I mean, Bad Boys 2 really is one of those rare sequels that is just head and shoulders above like the predecessor. Like this is Michael Bay's first movie. It's kind of baby steps, and it's I think The Rock is really like, that's one of my favorite movies ever. I watch that way too often. But this is an odd one.
Yeah, it's strange too, and it'll be interesting, Mike, for you to watch it this way, because there's something weird about Bad Boys, because I think it gets a lot of credit for being this incredible like sort of nexus moment of action movies. And I don't think it quite is. I mean, it ultimately gave us Bad Boys 2, which was great, and it started Michael Bay doing his thing. But it is very much Michael Bay's first movie.
It's an 80s movie they made in the 90s.
Yeah.
Titty, titty, strutty, strutty. I love lines like that because imagining the guy sitting, typing it. Yeah. No, I'm happy with that.
You mentioned that. Apparently, Michael Bay famously said that he called the script a piece of shit. And he was only given $10,000 for rewrites, and so he had Martin Lawrence and Will Smith ad-libbing as much as they possibly could.
That's probably ended up being a key to the success of the franchise, because both of them can do that all day long and be very charming and engaging. Yeah.
I also like to imagine people in loop groups to talk more about inside baseball production thing, but like the group of people, they get together in a room, record like all of the background dialogue and all the lines that are taking place kind of off screen and stuff. Like if somebody in that group came up with titty titty strutty strutty, like that, just as an improv thing, that makes it, I guess, funnier to me.
That's true. His mouth, I don't think, was on frame for that. Who knows? Yeah. So the eating junk food thing was started in the very first sequence. It's just nice how Martin Lawrence really committed to, in real life, playing that bit out in the fullness of time as far as he could play it.
Right. I mean, you've got Godfather 2. I don't know that I've seen Passenger 57.
Isn't it just Die Hard on a plane?
Yeah.
I mean, it's in that genre of movie that was Die Hard in a blank.
I'm surprised.
Happened.
I'm surprised I haven't seen a ton of Twitter gifs that are just give me a motherfucking handy wipe. That was
Right.
perfectly applicable to today's situation.
I was looking through the
let's get it going. It's not too late.
Yeah.
I was looking through all the Bad Boys Twitter gifs, and most of them are from Bad Boys 2 because people really love Bad Boys 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I have a buddy who writes for Collider. You probably know Tom Ryman, Clint, but maybe not. Anyway, they just put together their updated list of best action movies, and in a very controversial move, he flipped the standard like pantheon and put Bad Boys 2, then Die Hard 1, and then other things.
Bad Boys 2 is the greatest action movie of all time.
That's the greatest action movie of all time.
It is the king of the 4-act structure. That fourth act where the superfluous trip to Cuba, it really sets it apart.
Just for one more shootout?
Yeah, why not? It's like, hey, we won. Wait, nope, he's got my sister and they went to Cuba.
That's actually really...
Spoilers for Bad Boys 2, by the way. I'm sorry.
I'm due for a rewatch of that. I haven't seen that in a cool minute, but...
I want to say it's 3 hours long, but I don't think that's true.
What are you guys doing directly after this?
We'll just roll straight into Bad Boys 2. It's also on Netflix.
So... I was reading up on what this movie almost was, and this was Jerry Bruckheimer and Don Simpson, and they basically wanted a do-over with Beverly Hills Cop. They were like, let's do that again. Let's make an action comedy. And originally, I think the script was supposed to be for Dana Carvey and John Lovitz. And
wow.
Yeah, and Don Simpson took them to Vegas and was like, let's party, boys. Let's get going. And proceeded to scare off Dana Carvey, who just pulled out because he's like, I can't be with this.
I'm scared of Don Simpson.
Yeah.
If you're gonna quit a movie, I suppose that's as good a reason as any. Those like movies that almost were stories, because like Beverly Hills Cop was supposed to be Stallone for a little while, and so like thinking about what these movies would have been with those alternate casting is always fascinating. But if you're just joining us, there is a timer, and if you want to catch up, there is a timer on screen. That's where we're at in the movie. That's counting us down. So if you want to go ahead and fast forward to catch up to us, check out that time.
That's handy.
That is handy, I thought.
Much like a set of incredibly long night vision goggles that gotta hurt your neck something fierce.
I do love that I think that exact same shot is in The Rock. Like night vision goggle, like camera coming down. I mean, it's seeing Michael Bay, the origin of some of Michael Bay's favorite shots in this movie is actually really interesting. The only thing it's missing is that helicopter in the setting sun shot, I think, but we'll keep an eye on it. I'm pretty sure they don't have one in here.
We had the helicopter left to right with a mirrored building behind it, which honestly took me back to Spec Ops: The Lines opening, but that's very Bay-ish. I'm a big Pain and Gain fan. I feel like he's refined is what he does at that point.
That was a weird one because I remember he made that movie to blow off steam between Transformers movies.
Sure.
Like he hyped that up. He's like, I need to make a smaller film, which is like that. The fact that a bodybuilding crime movie is Michael Bay's idea of a small film is just, that's such a Michael Bayism right there.
Yeah.
So this heist scene. So now we're watching the crew, the bad guy crew here, break into the police station, and this is one of those amazing 90s heists that, like, structurally there's no way this is a building that exists, right? Like with all of these tubes. And
well, I also enjoy that our introductory shot of the security guard is literally him waking up from dead sleep. We're not in good hands here. That trope of the old security guard.
This is also super reminiscent of the other thing that Michael Bay was famous for in the 90s, which was that Aaron Burr Got Milk commercial.
That really launched his career, at least as far as his industry connections, right? I mean, that was like a big deal in his life, is my understanding. Yeah,
this really is just like the beginning of The Rock.
Meatloaf music video.
That was it Paradise by the Dashboard Light?
He did
Bad Out of Hell.
I Would Do Anything for I think he did a handful of Bad Out of Hell pieces, but this cart, this little like fun little speed cart
that
goes through the ducts is incredible.
Did they drill a tunnel and install that, the thieves, or does this building have that?
No, that's like some sort of tunnel that's in the building. That's like a ventilation duct or something.
All right.
It's much like the mine carts that he inserted into Alcatraz for some reason.
Well, that was for laundry though. But man,
Sure.
look at how cool it would be to ride this thing.
Yeah.
Like duck your head left and right for the.
Did you ever play Sewer Shark for the Sega CD? You know what I'm talking about?
I do not.
Okay, great. You're already getting the bay, like it's either blue or it's Los Angeles sunset amber all the time, almost exclusively, which
Right.
there's been a lot of articles written about. It's kind of passing now, but had its heyday in this era. And I think Bay is one of the big directors to really popularize it. Like, look how good these two colors look against each other. Every movie poster should be this for at least 11 years.
Nothing but orange and blue.
Yeah.
It's kind of an exaggerated thing that like Tony Scott was doing.
Yeah.
There's
That's
a lot
true.
of similarities there.
Yeah, even Blade Runner plays with that palette a bit.
Yeah.
The OG, I mean.
Oh boy. So this the whole one running theme is this Martin Lawrence in here, and the whole thing is he's
Yes.
married, whereas
Mhm.
Mike Lowry, Will Smith's character, is a sexy bachelor who does all sorts of kissing and things.
Mm-hmm.
And things.
And things, etc. But that's the deal, right? He's the married one, and he never gets to have sex. And then Will Smith, Mike Lowry, he's the playboy.
Mhm.
Just put them together, and that's comedy.
Yeah, it's like Lethal Weapon, but
That's
if
what it
both,
is.
if they were both funny instead of one of them was Mel Gibson, you know?
Right. That is the interesting thing too about because Lethal Weapon gets a lot of credit for being a buddy cop comedy, and it wasn't a comedy until the second one. Like the first Lethal Weapon
Right.
had a couple of fun moments in it, but it wasn't until Lethal Weapon 2 that they're like, oh, you know what, this is just straight up a comedy. Because the first one was about a suicidal cop, which is, not
Right.
at least this one is like, especially when it starts to be a farce here in a second, but just the good old reliable action comedy. This might be the best formula for it.
Yeah, and even Die Hard, it has moments where you're like, triumph, kick ass, but it's amusing in the funny moments, or like Riley, like, haha, that guy did deserve to get shot in that way. This has jokes and recurring bits. It's unique in a way. I mean, Rush Hour certainly, or Shanghai Noon, but I think you're right that there's not full overlap between this and other movies of this era, the way you would just assume they would all sort of blend together. They don't really. They're each playing in their own area.
We take Will Smith as an actor, granted, but this was really the first time he did any action. This was before Independence Day or Men in Black.
He was literally still the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air at this point, and he was for another year. The last episode of Fresh Prince was like a year after. It was, I think, summer of '96, and this came out a full year prior to that. So
I mean, that the phone hang up he just did had Fresh Prince energy. He's definitely, you can tell, he's bringing that vibe. So has there been the viral video that's the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme remade, but about bad boys? Because that would kill. We should do that.
No, I think between that and the "Give Me a Handy Wipe" memes, we got to get these. Let's start a running list of things we got to get going after this.
Jesus. The most tear I've ever seen on Joey Pants.
Wow. Let's talk about Joe Pantoliano, because his role in this movie is so perfect.
Well, I don't know exactly what it is yet. So Max, speak to that.
So
he's been in so much good stuff. Yeah, he's their boss. He's their uncool boss, who's kind of he's actually literally a narc. They're all actually narcs, but he's an extra narc because he's the boss and a narc.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's a narc boss.
I like how Martin Lawrence looks like he's in the freaking Warriors here.
Yeah. Yeah. The fashion in Miami, mid-90s Miami fashion in this movie, like the vest with a tank top underneath it, is something that I would not be able to pull off, but would be willing to try. I think it looks like a decently accessible look, but
I first took to Joey Pants in Memento, but yeah, he's all over the place and he's always excellent.
He's always been my favorite Fratelli brother.
Yep.
I liked him as Guido the Killer Pimp in Risky Business.
His bit part in Sopranos is savage and terrifying. He good.
I can't go with you there in the Goonies thing. Robert Davi is I think just as good for Telly Brother. I just have to stick up for him.
Yeah, that's Robert Davi is pretty good.
Can't for a minute.
I mean, he's such a good like 80s character actor. I feel like Joey Pants didn't really kick it off until like the 90s. Like he was in a lot of stuff in the 80s, but it was really.
Here you have this scene where we get to meet the other team, and like this became a whole movie, right? Like the other guys, they literally made a whole movie about Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg as that other pair of detectives next to the star team of detectives. But like these guys in this is another example of like a trope, an action movie trope that I can't say for sure that it was the first time they did this, but man, is it a perfect example of it. Those like the foils
they had to have done that on Miami Vice at some point. So in Bad Boys 2, aren't the other guys? Isn't it like Henry Rollins and somebody, or is Henry Rollins their boss? I can't even remember. He's in that, right?
Yeah, Henry Rollins is in it. He's for sure in it. I think he's one of those like SWAT guys that's just like, hey, we'll help. I don't think that like the running foil sets of detectives, but I think he's in the SWAT team that invades Cuba at the end for sure.
Seems like something Rollins would do.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
here we get another Sopranos.
That's what I was gonna. Okay, it's Chris. Yeah, that's right.
It's Michael and
Yeah. Okay, I was just about to ask. I know him. What from? Sure. Uniroyal ties. That's got to mean something.
Uniroyal tires.
If I know anything about Michael Bay, it's these subtle, meticulous clues that build to a cohesive message.
This is just like I can wait for the Room 247 style documentary about Bad Boys. One of these days.
You know, Boys 2 was Megan Fox's first movie.
Was it? Yeah,
she's an extra in one of the nightclub scenes. I just want to talk about Bad Boys 2 while they're sort of setting up Bad Boys when it's going. But she's in one of the nightclub scenes, and she was 15 when they filmed that, and she's just like, you know, random background girl in a bikini. And because she was 15, it was filmed in a nightclub. They couldn't have her standing at the bar because of like, you know, drinking laws or whatever. And so Michael Bay's solution was, let's put her under the waterfall.
Yeah, that's Michael Bay.
Yeah.
That sure is Michael Bay.
It works for the Quiet Place aliens. It will work for Megan Fox. I actually just recently organically discovered, like spotted and froze and went back. One of Michael Shannon's very first roles is a tiny, tiny part in Groundhog Day. You ever notice Michael Shannon in Groundhog's Day?
No.
He's in the diner.
I need to.
When Bill Murray's like, this couple knows this about each other and they're going to get married, and they get married. The dude is Michael Shannon.
It's one of them is Michael Shannon.
Changes everything. Yeah.
Nice.
That's worth rewatching Groundhog Day for. I could get into that.
I do really like the workout clothes that were on display there in that scene.
So the secretary here, hold on. So
go for it.
Yeah, she's in one of the first scenes in True Romance, which was another Bruckheimer movie. Yeah,
that was a Tony Scott one.
Yeah.
Actually, the guy that cut this movie, Christian Wagner, is the editor on this film. He did a bunch of Tony Scott movies. He did True Romance actually, and The Fan, and he went on to he actually did Face Off also. So like, this is a busy editor in so many ways on account of all the cuts.
That's true. Yeah, it's sort of edited in the music video style.
Yeah. Well, and you gotta really catch them, but in the action sequences, there are just like those quick pans that are cut in for like 9 frames that aren't connected to anything. It's just like they move the camera real fast, and then I mean, it's literally 8 frames of like dizziness is all it is.
Yeah, and yet there's still a difference between the deployment of something like that, where I feel like Michael Bay in a fight sequence does come from the classical school where you can follow the geography of the space.
Yeah.
And I like that. I like that he pushed it to the edge. What bothers me is when you get to like Bourne Supremacy and every shot is so handheld, I literally don't have a clear understanding of what.
Right.
If they were action figures, I don't know what they're doing. It's just a bunch of
who's standing where.
Yeah.
I will. There is something about like, you know, Bayhim, right? Like Michael Bay's style. I think he gets a kind of fairly bad rap. It's sort of changing there for a while. During the Transformers run, I think he was getting a lot of heat for it. But like looking back on his earlier stuff, like there are a lot of people that did Michael Bay impressions and did them poorly, and so like there's some actual genius, honestly, with Michael Bay. Like he does real specific stuff really well, and he knows what he's doing and why. So
I think you dunk on or feel like you can look down on something that is easy to identify as style over substance. And I do think it's true that like Michael Bay's directorial choices are more about vibe and style, but so is Guy Ritchie and Wes Anderson in many regards. So it's like style is a thing. It's you can be very stylish. Yeah.
Stanley Kubrick, like you know, he was
for sure.
It's movies. So here we are. They're finding the first dead body of the movie here.
This is gluttony, right?
This is right. Right. So they tracked I believe it's a CPA or an architect that sold the plans. It's the first clue. I do love the formula of like every line leads to like they're one step behind for the first half of the movie, and they just show up and find dead bodies.
That's like most of the actual action if you broke it down.
Well, it's great because Martin Lawrence is just like he's grossed out by him and he's very scared, and that's just which is just weird because it's like you're a cop, you know, like haven't you been doing this? Yeah.
And there are a couple of great sort of legitimately great character building moments early in the movie. Like we've got, you know, Will Smith coming into Martin Lawrence's home and being around the family and that dynamic, and then you've got Martin Lawrence tagging along to the gym and, you know, goofing off while Will Smith is doing the work, and then Martin Lawrence can't keep from throwing up when he sees death. So that's all you need to know. We can move on now. And then here's this conversation about how rich Mike Lowry is.
This would have been so fun to have worked out, like, because, you know, this day was literally them just being towed on a picture truck, going back and forth, improvising funny shit all day long, just chatting so entertainingly. I would have loved to have been.
Clearly taking umbrage to the insinuation that he's just playing cop.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't seem like he's going for super funny right now. I misinterpreted the scene.
No, this is a fun. Well, I mean, this is actually a funny scene because this is here in a second we get to them breaking into song for the first time. Which there's a moment here where it's just like as soon as somebody says the phrase "bad boys," it's like there was a tension while they were waiting for one of them to say it. And then it's an involuntary thing that they have to start singing as soon as they say "bad boys." Yep, there it goes. It's just like,
what you gonna do when they come for you?
There's that buildup of like, one of us has to say it, right? Is one of us going to say it? When is the conversation going to organically get to the point where I get to say "bad boys"? And then they start singing and everything's fine and we're off to the next scene.
You can feel that they knew that was the mechanism by which to wipe the improv scene. They had agreed upon before then. When it's wrapping up, you say "bad boys," and then we sing and we're out. Yeah.
So if we can go to, there's a question on Cinefix's YouTube page from Alex Nowakis. Sorry if I butchered that.
Hi, Alex.
Is this Michael Bay's best film?
No.
Now, Swam, you're
kind of
a third of the way into it, so
yeah.
Is this Michael Bay's best first third of a movie?
No.
I'm making sure I don't have a big blind spot. I really like Pain and Gain, but I would say Bad Boys is more important to the medium. The Rock.
The Rock
The
is the
Rock
correct
It's
answer.
tough.
Yeah,
I would have to go The Rock. Yeah.
I'm with you guys on The Rock. I definitely don't think it's his best movie. I would say Bad Boys 2 has surpassed it. Also in terms of how like its place in the canon of action movies is sort of more significant. But because Michael Bay was still feeling out what it means to be Michael Bay in this movie. Like
Right.
The Rock, I think, is perfect Michael Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Because
But it was also
he Jerry Bruckheimer kind of telling him to pump the brakes a little bit.
I think that's a lot like who the producer is plays it goes a long way with these. Like the first Transformers, I maintain is like a really fun movie, and rewatching it, especially after sort of knowing what Michael Bay's sort of tendencies are with the later Transformers movies, you can see Spielberg's fingerprints all over it because he was EP on that.
Yeah, notes are not a bad thing.
Like Bay is a prolific producer, and I think you'll notice a lot of movies he produces on have some Bayhem to them. So it's like clearly he sort of brought that bag of tricks. Speaking of which, Max, I know you saw Clint. I assume you saw, or like it's interesting to me having just seen Uncut Gems recently, how people keep inventing different ways to ratchet tension, and I think Bay has a bunch of great ones. And I found myself thinking about that during some Uncut Gem scenes where they did a thing where they layer so many minor plot arcs simultaneously that it becomes very stressful. Like 19 things are happening that someone calls, and you're like doing that and that and that. And I think that it's sort of in the same like lineage. I found myself thinking of the feeling I get in some Bay movies, watching some parts of Uncut Gems. In every other regard, very different world. But
I know that Tony Scott's whole approach to shooting was he would just have like 5 cameras rolling at once, and he would just be like, we'll cut it together after the fact. But it was, very much kind of fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons Last Boy Scout fell apart. I think there was something about how that was just it was just all over the place.
And then that is not what Bay does, because that doesn't feel like.
Well, Michael Bay, apparently I'm not sure if he was doing it during Bad Boys, but later in his career, he would kind of figure out what he was doing on the day. Like they would show up and block it and shoot it kind of on the day. Because a lot of the storyboarding and a lot of the movement of the scene and everything was just in his head.
That's just so interesting and alien compared to how I thought you got to the point where you're making movies like this.
Right. Like especially a movie like Transformers, where you think about like the crazy amount of previs that has to go into that.
And it's like, no stress.
He's just like winging it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah.
I've got friends who work at Lucasfilm, and I hear that he's incredibly hands-on whenever he's overseeing stuff at ILM, and he's just like very like, it's always very tense when he's like coming to check up on stuff, because he's he sees it in his head, he knows what it wants it to be, but he just gives him a bunch of footage of like cars exploding, and he's like, all right, put the robots in there, figure it out. And that's And
here we have Checky Cairo, which by the way we've now met Tay Leone's character. Julie, who is obviously important throughout the rest of this. And this is the mid 90s thugs here. The mid 90s henchmen.
Backwards Kangol hat.
Are just like kind of a schlubby old Italian dude. And then it's a guy with a mustache. Of course, everybody's got to have a mustache if you're a bad guy. This is like. But we also missed that really iconic slow motion falling through glass, which is always welcome. Even this chasing across the rooftop, it's so like it's cut with, there's handheld stuff like handheld close-ups of the feet, and then there's slow-mo stuff like people's slow-moing up and over the crest of the rooftop, and then there's
the vertigo shots, and it's just appreciating
like a slow dolly up to where she kind of stops like a movement with the tilts and everything. Like the combination of styles that goes into just that little scamper across the rooftop is kind of insane.
And a willingness from a crew perspective to just spend that much time. It's kind of amazing to me that in a world where, I mean, obviously they're different worlds, but compared to, let's say, a Judd Apatow production, it's incredible to imagine Michael Bay being like, nope, it reminds you of the Simpsons episode where Milhouse becomes Fallout Boy. It's like, nope, we have to shoot it from angles and angles and angles and angles. The number of times they had to physically move all the equipment just to get this sequence where she runs. I know so many directors who would think it's perfectly artistically like acceptable and beneficial to get a big wide shot of that, maybe one close dolly of her feet. Let's get home. Like, what are we doing here? It's amazing. It's not an attention to detail because it's scattershot in some way, but his willingness to put in the work. And it's interesting to hear what Max said about him being very hands-on, because I don't get the impression that he's meticulous, but he is there and he like has the energy to go with it until it's what he wants it to be, even if that energy is like chaotic.
I think he's definitely got like kind of a Broy or James Cameron thing going on, where he has like his really high standards, and you know, you see like bits of him, and he gets hands on when he's shooting. Like he gets out there, and he's, you know, he's not just like sitting in a director's chair, like, you know, twiddling his thumbs. Like he's a pretty physical guy, from what you can tell.
I think it also speaks to how he really does know what he's doing. You know, like I mean, to going back to the point about like, you know, Bay him kind of being a sort of derogatory term, like the way that sequence just scampering across the rooftop was cobbled together with a dozen different setups and 3 or 4 different styles, like this was a fairly cheap movie also. Like this was a $20-something million movie, and so to get the mileage out of that budget to make what is in everybody's heads one of the biggest action movies of the 90s, right, is pretty remarkable.
Yeah, people think of it as very, very epic.
Yeah.
So you got a lot of bang for your buck. But did you say 20 million?
Yeah, 20, 23, something like that.
It ain't cheap, but it ain't cheap. But yeah, there's
and especially in the mid 90s, like that was a mid-range movie in the mid 90s.
Back when everyone was doing the Bartman. 1995.
Oh, that's right. I did the Bartman. I was sneaking into the theater for this.
Yeah, he's talking 2 telephones at the same time.
Yep.
What a hectic job he must have.
How difficult it is for him to juggle family and work lives. This is what I would look like if I were doing this show from inside instead of in my garage. This would be like.
Or if Max and I had said no.
Sure.
This could have been your 2-hour bit.
just
as tears roll down your face.
Me on the other me. I do love establishing that Marcus has his foot in his mouth all the time. Is a lot of fun too. Because there's a weird fine line with characters like that just can't like, and he does it. Martin Lawrence does this throughout the entire, all 3 films. Like he can't just be honest to start with. Like he's always like trying to like the step 1 is like make up a story that's going to cover my ass for this. And then like it fails. And then step 2 is tell the truth. And the truth sounds insane because he's already sounded insane with the made up version. It's a fine line to walk, being like a frustrating person to be around and also just really funny.
Yeah, I mean, so much credit has to go to the casting. There's just no way who'd you say, Johnson? Who? Dana Carvey?
I mean, that's the version I want to see more than anything in the world. That just
I'd love to see it out of curiosity, but I made my own critic pugs and distributed them at school as a kid. I'm a big John Lovitz admirer, but I just don't think this movie or whole franchise and ongoing like legacy would be anything it's built around the talent. Yeah, absolutely.
Not. No. No, but if this movie had like Dana Carvey and John Lovitz in it, it would be one of those movies that like you see it on IMDb and you're like, what the hell is that? And you look at it and you're like, why doesn't this exist? And you look to see if you can get it anywhere, and the only way you can get it is like a used like Region 2 DVD on Amazon that's like $197 because it was like that unpopular.
And I would assume John Lovitz would have been the Martin Lawrence, which means Dana Carvey was going to be the super capable, slick Playboy cop. That's amazing.
Yeah, that sounds like a great movie. I don't know what you're talking about. It is you hear about some directors who, they cut their teeth doing commercials and music videos and stuff, and they want to choose the right first movie. It's kind of funny that like Michael Bay was like, all right, this will be my first movie, Bad Boys. And he's like, wow, I hate this script. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then it's just like, he's like, well, I'm just going to, like, I don't know if that was sort of just trying to get his feet wet somewhere and just figure it out. But
yeah, I imagine you don't get to be terribly picky. And also it's a testament to how hard it is to make a movie in general. Like the fact that movies get made all is kind of a miracle, and the fact that good ones get made is even more so miraculous. So I imagine a guy that's coming off of a decade's worth of music videos and that Aaron Burr commercial, like if he gets the rights to a script, and like, yeah, I'll do it. Great. Yep, I'm there.
He moved a lot of milk.
Here we are 25 years later celebrating.
Absolutely.
Rightfully so. It's worth, like, this is such a fun movie.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know a whole lot when I was 9 or whatever it was when this came out, but if you went up to me and like you showed me all of the movies that were in the theaters in like 1995 and you're like, which of these is going to turn into a trilogy by the year 2020, I'd be like,
yeah,
it definitely wouldn't be this one.
Which of these is going to 25 years from a trilogy?
I would have gone Shawshank Redemption. I want to see 2 more movies where he gets away with a crime. He goes back to jail for another 15 years, laboriously escapes.
I mean, Green Mile was sort of like the same Shawshank universe, I feel like.
It's true. Same director.
If he does like a Prison Break style, like he goes back in for his buddies.
Yeah. Morgan Freeman gets picked up. He has to go back.
Going back to what we were saying about like Lethal Weapon 1 being serious and Lethal Weapon 2 just being a comedy, I kind of want to see more of that. Like, I think that maybe that's wrong with like Alien 3. Like maybe Alien 3 should have been a comedy.
Your point is well taken.
You start with horror, and then you ramp it up to action with like a good, gratifying arc, and then everyone solved their problems. They found a bunch of resolution, and then they just have fun. They just have a fun time with limited conflict.
I completely see what you're seeing structurally. I don't know if Alien is the
might not be the best example.
It's like on a treadmill when you're like, you do the set amount of time you're supposed to do, and then it's like, oh, it's your cool down. You're like, I didn't say I was going to get on here for 35 minutes, you crazy machine. And you just like, that's that like 5 minutes.
But if that last 5 minutes is a comedy about xenomorphs, then sure, I'll stick around for it.
I'd watch every living hell out of that. But
what's the comedy beat of Aliens that would still be loyal to the plot concepts? I guess like Weyland Yutani filing paperwork and trying to get like, oh boy, this mission we had really didn't go well.
Sort of an Office Space version of
yeah, what's happening with Paul Reiser?
Or it's like
to check in with Reiser.
You make it a xenomorph thing. It's Midnight Run, but it's Ripley and Hicks, and they've got to transport a xenomorph.
Oh man.
What if she made that human hybrid pink alien thing, but it imprinted on her, and so it was safe. It did whatever she wanted, and they did like a Tango and Cash roaming around collecting bounties type thing.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't know, Bad Boys. This movie's not serious at all. It's silly as hell. No. It's got some action in there. It has a good time, and
like the good thing is it's not an action movie with comedy in it, and it's not a comedy that tries to also do action, like, which I think is a trap that a lot of action comedies fall into. Like, this is just as good at action as it is at the comedy, which is unusual. I mean, they stopped doing that.
Yeah. What's interesting is like it really ramps up the action. Like the fact that it is a lower budget. Like, I'm not going to compare Alien and Aliens to Bad Boys and Bad Boys 2, but like there's that level of escalation where you have to. Like, it's This one isn't. I would say this is not so much an action movie as it is like a buddy cop movie.
Yeah.
Like there's action in it, but it's more like it's two cops solving a mystery. Whereas like Bad Boys 2, they blow up Cuba.
Right.
Yeah, and all the hearts derive from the underlying friendship that they will occasionally reference, and it's a subgenre that. What's the earliest clear buddy cop thriller drama anything you can think of? Is it maybe Sherlock Holmes and Watson?
It might be, yeah.
Okay, but I think Bad Boys is at the top of the pantheon as far as this template. And right after Bad Boys, there are so many movies in this template that just came out in this decade.
And here we have, so now at this point, Martin Lawrence is having to pretend to be Will Smith so that he can get Pantoliano to agree to come into custody. And here come the awesome mid-90s henchmen. And banter between henchmen like this is something that I dearly love and miss. I don't feel like I see it as much anymore.
I think everyone in modern day has gone through enough screenplay writing classes and read Save the Cat and Story by Robert McKee and stuff, and they're like, why would you linger on the henchmen? Because it's occasionally amusing, you humorless writers. It's funny to stick with the henchmen. Yeah, I agree. Always fun to stick with the henchmen. Because they don't really exist. We have no connection to them. You can do anything.
Yeah.
And I love that it's interesting to see sociologically when you need a generic henchman who could be anyone who's going to cause trouble and could carry a gun. There are definite trends, and not to be too grim, but like obviously after 9/11, I think culturally our fear of the Middle East translated into a lot of movies. And then in the Cold War, you saw the Russians are the bad guy in every movie through Rocky and everything. I like this middle period, though, like the Italian or Brooklyn style white American mafia was not in the news or a big force in politics. We were just in between a bunch of stuff happening. And we really just defaulted back to the mafia. Everything was just the mafia.
There was a surplus. We didn't have anything to worry about.
Relatively speaking, nowadays, it seems like such a buddy cop comedies thrived in this time where you're like, well, what is there to fear? Let's have fun with fighting crime. It's a romp, really.
And even the idea that running streets firing indiscriminately is not a thing that is not a very specific thing to be afraid of. Like the scene that we just saw where they were running away from the apartment complex, and there's that shot where there are stray bullets flying into a nearby restaurant, and it's like that in 1995, like it was like, oh man, cool.
Yeah, plainclothes police officers firing wildly in the street is fine in the universe of this movie, and I think that's what makes it work.
Yeah, I think the buddy cop as a genre, the buddy cop movie as a genre is like uniquely situated to sort of to have fun doing that.
Was Hot Fuzz the last really good buddy cop comedy?
It's excellent.
Probably.
And
that one's got a separate classification too, because that's kind of a parody. But
that's sort of, it's a parody, but they also clearly love the medium so much that they just lean into it and make it one. Like that's kind of what made, I think, 90s this applies to really anything, is the second you satirize it and lampoon it enough, it stops being a thing that anyone can take seriously, and so it goes away.
Well, I think the great favorite parodies and spoofs are ones that would be good versions of the thing that they're spoofing, which Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead as well. Like those guys knew how to do it.
Yeah, you could just delete the quotes around it and be like, it's actually also good.
Yeah.
I was going to bring up Nice Guys, I think. Deserves to be mentioned.
That's really good.
And
who are the good guys in that? It's The Rock, and who else is it?
Oh no, you're thinking of the other guys.
Or the other guys.
That was The Rock
and the Nice Guys. Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Nice Guys is Russell Crowe and
right. No, that's
Driver,
the Nice Guys.
Drive,
the Nice Guys is that's just like that felt like Shane Black doing a Force Awakens of his entire career.
A little bit, but it's a decent to excellent buddy cop movie from recent memory. And
I prefer it to Kiss Kiss Bang Bang.
According to Google, Stuber counts, but I didn't actually see that.
Yeah, I think that's one that falls into the category. It was a comedy first, and then also had action sort of trappings around it. I think like The Heat is another one that did that, with Melissa McCarthy and Sandra Bullock. Like comedy first, action sort of incidental.
Well, you're saying it's impressive that in a comedy the action was well directed, and I think it's more impressive the other way. Also, like now looking back, knowing that Michael Bay was going to be able to bring the action, it turns out that's kind of what his special superpower is. Yeah. The fact that the comedy works so well is highly impressive.
Well, at that point, you gotta talk about the casting, because I mean, clearly there's a lot of improv in the movie, and Bay encouraged the improvising. Just making sure you got the two right people in the right spot.
And even like down to little casting details, like I forget his name, hopefully one of you will know it, but this guy is a sitcom veteran as well. Like he's gonna bring comedic timing, the bellboy, to any scene you put him in. The vast majority of his work has been in comedy and television comedy specifically. So it's like stocking the pond of the scenes you want to be comedic with people that are going to bring that energy. Yeah, it's really well planned.
I need to rewatch the Transformers movies as comedies, because there's so much funny stuff in there, but it's like I'm always sort of watching it as like a Transformers nerd, and I'm like, Grimlock would never do that.
It's definitely similar. I mean, Shia LaBeouf has some that sort of manic, nonstop kind of energy. That
I mean, there's the second one has a whole scene where his like mom eats a pot brownie by accident. Like there's just all these slapstick like really stupid moments.
Like Optimus Prime hiding from his mom and stuff.
Yeah, like that's very silly. Like, and I don't know, Turturro's in it. It's like he's a riot.
I came into it as an Even Stevens fan, so I was very unsatisfied, frankly.
I was mostly lost. And here we have Marcus coming back and getting in trouble. Sleeping on the couch.
Does Will Smith, does Mike Lowry have to deal with any fallout from this at all? Or is that, what is it, like the Tia Leone like finds him attractive but thinks that he's married, so she doesn't bother?
Well, there's none of that really. And in fact, Tia Leone is her character is like, there's a few things that are kind of its time and that don't really hold up, to our sensibilities. But for the most part, like she doesn't throw herself at anybody. Like considering what was happening in the mid '90s in action movies, like she's a surprisingly well-rounded character, I feel like.
I feel like they were just like, they watched Lethal Weapon 2 and they were like, all right, but what if Danny Glover was really funny and Mel Gibson was really funny and Joe Pesci was a beautiful woman, and wasn't funny? And you're like, all right, well, go for it.
You really buried the lead.
She jumps in a pool too.
You had
let's just walk straight into the police basketball court. Every police station has a basketball court.
Right. Where you're free to smoke a fat cigar while you dribble if you want. It's amazing that, I mean, in an on-top genre, I think that any realistic fallout that a police officer would have to deal with is funneled into just getting chewed out by one guy. That's so much nicer than it means you have to go get your license re-audited and fill out this paperwork and meet with the HR department. I wish at work when we messed up, everyone would just tell someone who came with a cigar and was just like, "You're a loose cannon, Swaim. Get your stuff together,"
Well, can you imagine if there was just one person that had to deal with literally everybody's problems? Like, of course they would want to yell like this. It would be the worst job of all time.
They just exist in a basketball court and
They're just smoking in a basket.
chugging Malox, yelling at Max. Is that too much to ask for?
I don't think so.
I'm imagining him being like somebody. What are your hobbies? And he's like, I'm a cigar aficionado and I love basketball. And I really just love them both at the same time.
Right.
And I know I got to give one or the other up eventually.
Yeah.
Tears me apart. Yeah.
But I work a lot. I have a busy schedule, so I have to really just lump things together and make the most of it.
That is probably a very small diagram of cigar aficionados and basketball enthusiasts.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted like a mag, like cigar aficionado baller quarterly or whatever.
That's the other thing we miss about 1995. There were magazines for.
I bet cigar aficionados still out there. Don't you think?
People who
for sure
cigars
is, but
probably still buy magazines.
The magazine that's specifically for cigar aficionados and basketball enthusiasts.
Oh, I see. It's just Joey Pants and Dr. Cox from Scrubs. That's it.
Right.
Oh, yeah. The aficionado.com. Still going strong. It's structured
4 days. There's your ticket.
It's structured very much like an open world quest game where you just return to Joey Pants and he goes, "Look, you're detectives. Go here, shoot these guys." And they're like, "That."
And go back, he's got more and more basketballs scattered all over the court. I think they put them in there. That's some just set design to really support the narrative. Like, what kind of a court is this? This is a basketballs court. You can see the basketballs everywhere.
Well, he only shoots a basketball once and then gets rid. So that's what all those spare basketballs are for.
I like that.
So many references to the Like Mike commercials.
Sure. I
was reading up on this. They make a joke about Michael Jordan retiring, and I think that happened between that scene being shot and the movie actually coming out. So it was like,
he quit baseball by the time between filming that scene and releasing the movie,
or retired from basketball.
Yeah,
I think because then it was Space Jam the same year.
So you're saying they had to reshoot the scene, or that it was only relevant for a brief window of time?
It was like, I think it was just it.
He missed 2 seasons of basketball. I remember that because those were the only 2 championships that my Houston Rockets were the 2 seasons that Michael Jordan was trying to play baseball.
Trying. He played baseball.
Which was
he played it better than you.
Sure. Trying to play baseball professionally.
Right.
So we went on ESPN the other day to see what exactly they're writing about on account of sports not really happening anymore. And the top 2 stories were like Michael Jordan's baseball career, a retrospective, and a story about a baseball player who turned his barn into a batting cage. So
they've given up.
I feel less bad about doing a retrospective on Bad Boys on its 25th anniversary.
Yeah. That brings me to a question in chat that I'm sure they meant. Not sure. They may have meant meanly, but I'm going to take it at face value. Hey, IGN, are you guys still happy with the quality of content you're putting out? I'm going to assume they mean since we've all had to transition to work from home specifically. And I wanted to take it as an excuse to say that actually it's been very difficult, especially because we're more reliant on our diverse internet situations than ever before. But I'm pretty proud of how everyone's kept things rolling. And over, at least on the SF video side, we have 2 to 5 new shows that we plan to launch, even though we're in. So I think everyone's really hustling, and I'm pretty proud of the team. If that answers your question.
Yeah. No, I got to resurrect Up at Noon live. We're doing that now. It's not at noon; it's at 5 now, which is like it's the dumbest name for a show ever. Like I'm incredibly happy with that.
Up at Noon at 5. Of course.
Tune in for Up at Noon. It's at 5 p.m. Pacific time.
It's noon o'clock somewhere.
It's in Fiji. We looked it up. It's the number 1 daytime comedy variety show made in California.
For Fiji.
For the Fijian audience. Yeah.
See, this is another one of Marcus Burnett's great. So he just trying to convince Julie he's actually Mike Lowry and making up this whole thing about these pictures are here for every time my partner has saved my life. I hope they had 3 or 4 cameras rolled because, like, I don't know how the weird tangents that they go on with these improvs have to be hard to keep.
And yet, there will be shots that involve a rack focus or a dolly landing to the point that it makes me wonder. I want to see more of like Bay's shot lists and stuff, or just more behind the scenes footage of him directing, because he does have this amazing amalgam of feels like coverage mixed with what feels like shots you would have to pre-plan. I wonder if he watches that improv and then goes, I like that improv, lock that line in, but shoot it this way now. I don't know. It's interesting.
No, it's got to be something. I mean, a combination of that and then, like, you know, just telling them you have space to work in because that's where I can.
It was a nighttime club event type thing, and there was. It was weird, you know. It was an
people
odd,
hanging from the ceiling upside down in cocoons.
There were.
So
I
this
think
is
there were,
where, in terms of bathroom fight scenes, where does this rank for you guys? I do like a good fight scene in a filthy.
Yeah, that was very good. I liked that. 2 ones that come to mind immediately. The one in Upgrade was super good recently, and the one at World's End, since we mentioned Hot Fuzz, where you see their blue blood for the first time, the mannequin people.
So what breaks this for me is that this like cool ass nightclub with, I mean, it's way too staged. Like if you're gonna have a grimy bar bathroom, the mirror will have already been broken. You know?
Oh. The head slam into the disgusting urinal gets me every time.
Who done tore off and whooped your ass now? Take the time. It's really the fucking time. Look, they know. Let's get Noah and get out of here.
So the other cool thing about that vantage point that the entire drug stealing gang is in is that you can pick out people individually in the crowd super easy because they're 2 for 2. Are we out? Hey, thank you for sticking with us. Sorry about that. Having some internet issues. But let's sync back up real quick. We are at 1 hour and 9 minutes. They are just running out of the Hell Club towards this ice cream truck. So go ahead and get to 1 hour and 9 minutes, and we will play it. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Make ice cream truck go now.
Ice cream truck go now.
Literally on the subtitle on the frame we were paused on was go there. So go there. Also, the lighting and the setting remind me of Collateral, which had a great club scene. I can't remember if he ends up in the bathroom at any point, but good shootout in a club.
I mean, any good club scene also has a good bathroom fight scene.
Generally, I think mainly because of the sound design. You get to make all the sounds all tinny and echoey in the bathroom.
Yeah. And I will say, for a cop who is as capable as Mike Lowry has proven himself to be throughout this entire time, for him to choose this truck to get away in is baffling.
Did they need to haul something large? Was that part of the chase?
They're running out of the club, and they say, "Get in the truck!" Like this is the only part of the movie where the scenes show a little bit in terms of just like, I've got an idea for a set piece, and we need to get the story there.
So it's an ice cream truck that's full of ether.
It's the drug dealers were. It's the ether that they're going to use to cut the heroin.
Mm-hmm.
But they were just parking it out in front of the club to like deliver it to the people that needed it, to the chemists, I guess. But here they come running out of the club, and they say, "Get in the truck." This is also these car chases are. There's actually a better example later in the movie. It's kind of a car and foot chase that does this great thing like that. There's out of the 18-wheeler just like casually driving that they cut in with the rest of the car chase that sets up like the next obstacle that's coming up. There's actually a really cool Michael Bay kind of hallmark. He did it in The Rock in a really cool way too.
So the ether is suspended in like nets.
Mm-hmm.
That's not necessary, is it? Like ether's, I didn't know that's nitroglycerin that you need to keep like suspended carefully, right?
Big nets of ether.
Did they just this is Miami, and they were like, we got a lot of hammocks, we could put ether in it, I guess. Like,
yeah. How do you want your ether? Just on the ground or in a hammock?
Huh. Trying to look up how ether is transported.
Well, you're on a list now.
But I'm only finding out about like in medieval times when everyone was addicted to ether, how they'd get it from town to town. Yeah.
Barrels, probably.
Cider house rules, yeah. But apparently it is volatile enough that they would ship it in like beds of straw in medieval times. So I guess if you shake it can explode. Yeah, who knew?
Huh.
That is
that's what I know.
Unfortunate learn by doing kind of thing back in those days.
I Googled for 45 seconds. Let's not consider it vetted news.
I showed my hand. I clearly don't do enough either. So.
So Julie, at this point in the movie, they're here comes the news chopper. They're arguing on the road, flaming bodies of henchmen in a car nearby. Julie, at this point, she knows, right? She knows that Marcus is Mike and Mike is Marcus. She has to.
What are you doing trying to apply logic to this film? Like,
no. I'm not. I'm just. It's. This is going back to me saying that Julie was actually a pretty good character. Like she never plays she never plays dumb, or she never seems to be completely fooled by the ruse, right? Which is a good choice and an interesting one for an action movie in 1994.
Especially an action movie that's modeling a lot of its plot beats after sitcom tropes, and then having action. It's very interesting from a formula perspective because it's like the arcs, like the classic. I'm married and now we don't have sex anymore. Every time something happens, we have to swap identities, and then stuff is serendipitously unfortunate. These are like Frasier episode arcs. Like the sitcom force is strong in the writing and the build of the thing, and yet You could also say that the linking together like a necklace of pearls of good action set pieces is equally strong, and they just kind of alternate where they take up stage space. This is giving me a new appreciation for just what a strong formula action comedy is at its heart. It's just it's a real peanut butter chocolate situation. It's a perfect match.
I want to see more action, comedy, horror all at the same time.
Comedy horror, I think, is the other genre that's super like perfect blend. Yeah, I love
it
horror
makes a lot of
comedy.
sense.
But I want action, horror, comedy. I want all three.
That's
I want
that's
I
rare
want
that you get that. Yeah.
peanut butter and chocolate and pizza. Like I want
Yeah, I can't think of a great example of one, honestly.
Mother bitch is such an unusual turn of phrase. It's pretty great. So this is another one where this is another scene where the improv was sort of famously added. Apparently, the button of this scene, which is one of the funniest jokes in the entire movie, and frankly, one
I've
of
seen this
the best
scene before. Yeah.
yeah, it's one of the most well remembered jokes in the entire movie. Was apparently Will Smith's idea on the day. Like it was an improv joke in the moment, which is great. Which is also interesting because it's just such a like carefully plotted beat. Like the timing of it is so right that I wonder if it was the idea and then they had to nail that timing a couple times, or I mean either way, it's the end of this scene is I think the funniest part of the movie.
swears.
And give me a pack of tropical fruit bubblicious and some Skittles.
The pace of that joke is perfect. It's great.
Yeah.
We have a question for you,
Yay.
Mr. Swaim.
Oh.
Frank Lee Amish.
Oh, hi, Frankly.
Yeah, hi.
It's Amish.
This is a question for Mr. Swaim. How are you enjoying this first viewing, and how are your bananas doing?
Oh, we haven't done a nanner check.
Which, yeah, I completely, in the midst of all the technical difficulties, I completely forgot about the nano check.
This one is warming up nicely and will be edible much sooner. So this is the Mike Lowry banana, and this one's a little soft and pudgy. This is like your schlubby Martin Lawrence banana. I'm gonna keep them together, spooning as they want to do, but aren't allowed to by the vagaries of film production. I'm liking it. I've seen half of Bad Boys 1 with people talking over it for a different stream another time, like 2.5 years ago. And now I will have seen all
on
of
the
Bad
23rd
Boys
anniversary of Bad Boys.
Now I will have seen all of Bad Boys 1 with people talking over it. I still feel like I haven't seen Bad Boys. I will probably one day actually watch it.
You need to really spend some time with it.
Yeah, the bandwidth issues are.
Yeah, you're gonna be all right.
But I'm loving the parts I'm able to key into.
You have seen Bad Boys 2?
2 and Bad Boys for Life, yeah.
And you were able to keep up with what was going on in the movies?
After listening to a handy IGN review / recap of the events of Bad Boy.
Bad Boys in 5?
I think they should do a prequel with just one of them and call it Bad Boy.
Sure. Well, apparently, I mean, in Bad Boys for Life, they established there was a time where it was just one of them. We could do that. We can make that happen.
Oh yeah, who would have? So it was Mike alone at first, or?
Well, one of them's alone. Technically, the other one's alone too.
I guess so. Yeah.
I do. This is kind of a fun little subversion of the gotta have sex right after an action sequence thing. Where it's kind of like chatting about it.
And if we go with your theory that Téa Leoni already knows, then she's kind of gaslighting him in this scene.
Yeah, I think she's really screwing with him. Because here she's talking to him about how a guy like Marcus, a woman couldn't possibly say no to him.
Probably couldn't be around him, and just like our situation.
Which is one of the things that I like about Téa Leoni's character here. She's like really actively screwing with these guys.
Yeah.
What is wrong with him? Oh no, this one goes on the bulletin board at work.
Has she been working lately?
I feel like,
Working.
yeah, wasn't she like she had like a CBS show or something for a while?
Oh, her last full name is also Pantoliano. I didn't know that.
What?
Leone is short for Pantoliano.
Shut up. You.
Her birth name is Elizabeth Thea Pantoliano. We got double pants.
Double pants.
Oh yeah, Tower Heist. That was
You're
2011
serious?
now. Oh, Madam Secretary. Yeah,
Madam
that's what she's
Secretary,
been up
that's
to. That's right. That's right.
You guys remember The Naked Truth? That was
Yes,
a sitcom that
I
was
do
on
remember
right
that.
about this time in the mid '90s, where she was a tabloid photographer.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was like a fallen on hard times proper photographer that then, oh, I have to work for a tabloid, and
Yeah.
hilarity and soul searching ensues.
Watch that. 2 guys, a girl in a pizza parlor, and Just Shoot Me. That was a good
Mhm.
time. Good time for sitcom.
That's a good Thursday night.
Yeah.
And here again, I mean, Swam, to your point about like
Hmm.
the sitcom type trapping, like setups of this movie. Like, here's a guy trying to sneak into his own house because he thinks his best friend, like, he just overheard something out of context that sounded like sex, and so now he's got to break into his own home.
Oh yeah, the actual plot, things that propel the plot are like Three's Company scenarios.
Yeah,
Mostly, yeah.
That really is perfect to just have, but also there's bad guys, because
Right.
there's never really bad guys in sitcoms, but to have like guys who want to straight up kill the person who's like undergoing this just boilerplate screwball scenario.
I'm dating 2 sisters at the same time tonight, and they're gonna kill me also.
And and I've got this job interview at the same restaurant, and I'm Mrs. Doubtfire. Like, I don't know how this is going to work.
Barry, the HBO show, balances those elements super well in a similar way. Like the sitcom side and the action. And I love that in the later parts of the movie, they actually find ways to have both layers going on at once and step back and forth whenever they want. You know what I mean? Like, it's so clever that here we're literally having an action scene that itself is kind of funny because they're arguing while they fight. And then you pull back to the car and they're doing straight up what we're doing. They're doing like MST3K commentary on the scene. I like that. That's smart.
Yeah, I did spend some time with the henchmen.
Minions, $1 billion empire, I believe.
You got the whole section of that theme park now just for the minions. It could have been these guys from the car at Bad Boys Run.
Those minions are turning 10 this year. Boys are growing up. Those little bananas.
And we're gonna have to sell it. Yeah, you brought it to the wrong celebration. It's 10-year anniversary of Minions that we need to bring your nanners to.
They love bananas, don't they?
Yeah.
That's a thing? Okay, yeah.
It's one of the few words that they actually say.
Right. It's one of their only words. It's the closest I got is a yellow gummy bear.
Nice. That's the closest to a minion, is that?
That's what a
To a minion, yeah.
a nude minion that's fresh out of the bath looks like.
Exactly. Now, in Wild Wild West, if you freeze frame in the opening sequence, you can see Will Smith's testicles. Is that going to
true?
happen?
Okay, so
Yeah, absolutely. In the
I'm not the only
theatrical
one who's done
print.
that.
Yeah, you can. Is that going to happen here?
I don't think so.
Because I'll let that go now.
Don't
that
think so.
disappointment. All right.
Frankly, like, I don't want to test it by freeze framing this if we don't have to.
Sure.
We already tried that once.
There's a single frame, and later on there's a chase, and everyone's fully clothed, but just there's a single frame of Will Smith testicles they just insert randomly. It's really
like
it's an
Fight
odd
Club.
choice. Yeah,
Fight
exactly.
Club, total ripoff of Bad Boys. I've always said.
Here's another thing about cast. The scene between Marg Helgenberger and Joe Pantoliano is perfect because these two character actors have the best shorthand for their roles. Like, you like looking at Joe Pantoliano as stuffy captain, and Marg Helgenberger as the internal affairs, like, I'm gonna bust your ass lady. Like, you don't need dialogue to present that. Like, the casting of those two people is just so spot on.
Nice running into you, JoJo. Always making it hard on yourself, JoJo.
It was interesting doing I actually did a double feature the other night of, I watched Bad Boys for Life, then I rewatched Bad Boys, and watching it in reverse order with Bad Boys for Life, where the talk is all like, you know, they go to a we're too old for this shit place, and Martin Lawrence wants to retire, and then it was this scene actually where Martin Lawrence comes running after JoJo, that I was like, oh, he's come a long way. Like, what a journey for Marcus Burnett. So from like joyfully chasing down an informant to need to retire.
Yeah, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Man.
What's up, Joe? What? You pulling a gun on me? You guys are cops. I can't believe this. I should turn you into hard copy. Put your ass on a TV set.
I love how, what percentage of the movie do you think is in a super wide angle lens? It's probably 50-50 with super long lenses, right? Like, I feel like there's no lens that just kind of looks like the human eye. It's either like an 18 millimeter super wide or like a telephoto lens.
Other than these medium closes where people are just saying their lines, everything else has some kind of... Yeah, we talked about moving the setup, but I think people who haven't been on film sets underestimate how laborious it is to change the lenses out on all the cameras.
Yeah.
As well. Michael Bay's not afraid to like hang out on set for a long time. I bet.
That's another Tony Scott thing too. Like, and the more we talk about this movie, and the more we talk about like Tony Scott and Michael Bay being super similar, like all of those, and even in just Michael Bay's next movie, like The Rock is the year after this one in '96, and like I think every tendency that we're seeing in Bad Boys is like taken to the next step in The Rock, which is like everything's either just wide angle or like super tight.
Someone in chat claims that Pedro Pascal is on chat, but I don't believe that.
That's saying I look like Pedro Pascal again.
Oh, that's it. Oh, I didn't see it, but now I get it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I get that in comments a lot.
It was like Pedro Pascal's on stream. I was like, really?
I wish.
He'd be fun to do a commentary with.
Oh yeah, Prospect with Pedro Pascal jabbering. That would be great.
Conversation.
Sorry, it's not up to your usual high standards.
Is he always like this on a stakeout? What is it? Too much caffeine? Sex?
True Lies has a similar ratio of comedy to action.
True Lies was made, and also structured in a way where the comedy stuff is like the actual plot of the movie, like terrorists stealing a nuclear warhead, is secondary to a lot of the comedy setups.
And
like,
even the heart,
remember
like whatever the issue the people are having amongst themselves is top. Yeah.
The whole middle section of True Lies is, which is one of the greatest action comedies of the 90s, I would say. The whole middle section is Arnold Schwarzenegger following around Bill Paxton, like it's trying to catch a used car salesman.
Fun movie. God, I love that movie.
Remember Club Hell? No, slipped my mind.
Nope.
Swimming ducks in here. Whoa, hold it. Come on, man. You know Sinclair got every phone in the damn station tapped. We gotta do that in person.
What is this? I want to see the swimming ducks.
Is that like a police officer that's trained as a frogman? Do you
No
know
idea.
What does that
I
mean?
have no idea. I mean,
want the police to send ducks.
In my head, it's like people in those like floating swan paddle boats that you can get just like on a fun afternoon.
But with like a
SWAT team
chain
on
gun on the
Yeah.
front. Yeah.
Does he mean like sitting ducks, but swimming?
No, he was requesting requesting swimming ducks, which
He's
I assume is some
requesting
sort of
backup.
SWAT team kind of
Oh,
lingo
Huh.
for something.
Like a Navy SEAL, but a
Yeah.
swimming
Okay.
duck.
But a swimming duck.
So can anyone identify what they're watching? Too
The
late.
news.
the Stan Miller show. Uh-oh.
It is kind of nice. I do appreciate a good payoff, like a throwaway shot of a house. Sort of means something else at the end of an action sequence comes back to actually mean something. Just a cabinet of guns. I guess they're in Mike Lowry's place. He doesn't need to lock that up.
I don't know. That dog looks and depressed. You gotta watch
Yuki?
it around that dog.
Yeah. See, this is the pinnacle of this movie's Marcus trying to cover his ass bit coming up here when his wife shows up.
Now I gotta ask, at the risk of breaking the facade we've maintained well throughout, is your guys' playing at like 67% speed?
Mine's like it'll just stop periodically.
And then catch up really fast?
And then catch up,
That's
yeah.
it? Okay. I'm like, there's no way the people watching on Netflix are still in sync, is there?
I don't
Maybe.
know
I
if
don't
they
know.
are. Let's see if we can get.
I think we should start reenacting the subtitles in real time so people can
Yeah.
tell where we are.
So, guy, actually, I'm glad you brought that up, Swim, because as it turned, we are talking with our TD now. We are having some more stream issues.
Oh shit, he's here. Shut up. All right, Limon. Third time's a charm.
Are you is it like darker in LA? Like what's up with that? You're in like the
He's in his cave.
Oh, boy.
man. I want to go out. Oh, I thought you just turned into Martin Lawrence.
Yeah. Ooh.
Woosah.
Nick, yeah, Nick's giving you.
Okay.
We're still. We're actually still on. Apparently, listen. If we're still on, thank you.
Oh, did they hear me?
Thank you, everybody who is stuck around. If anybody's out there still sticking this out, we are going to give it one more good college try to finish this movie. We got
Do I
20
need-
minutes left.
Do I need to have gone to college to?
No,
Okay.
you just need to have heard that phrase before.
Boom. I did just now.
Nick,
We're good to go.
yeah. Well, what's our time code so we can sync these people back up? Where are we at? Milliseconds. Wow, that's specific. So 1 hour 32 minutes. Okay, great. If you can sneak the millisecond, that's fine. But hour 32. We've got Martin Lawrence taking a deep, calming breath, perhaps on screen right now.
What he should be doing this.
Yeah, great, perfect.
He looks
Okay,
like he's
so now,
whistling.
so now that if we're there, let's play in 3, 2, 1, go.
I agree with Adam Schlake in chat, who says we should probably just start over from the top. Try the whole thing again.
I don't know that we'd be able to make the same points in exactly the same places as we did before. It'd be a very different situation.
A lot of people don't know this, but streaming Bad Boys is actually a roguelike, and you must start fresh from the beginning every time.
This is
Yeah, right.
It's procedurally generated.
It has numerous different endings. It never ends the same way.
Never the same.
Bork Grom in chat says, "Does anyone have any jokes?"
Oh no,
No.
none whatsoever.
I had one earlier.
Now it's not the time.
No.
It's gone. So here we're sneaking up on another really cool foot chase, which I do love a good foot chase.
Mm-hmm. You
Point
seen
Break
Run Run?
has a great one. Run Lola Run has a good
Good foot chase.
The titular
multiple
foot chase,
times.
yeah. Oh, these close-ups of eyes are so good. Slow motion. Here come the guns. And in this little shootout here in the lobby, like the geography of where these bullets are landing, I think is on all four walls of the room. Like regardless of where people are aiming, every wall is getting shot up.
Well, wouldn't they be?
I guess, I don't know, but there's that sequence there that it's cut from like one side of the room and a guy gets shot over there, and then like Chet's getting shot at, and then like it just seemed like it seems a little more willy-nilly, which I mean, look, it all works. Like the feeling that you're left with after watching this is like, oh god,
bullets are in here. Yeah. Oh. Now
he really loves that trope of like the public servant like cautiously emerging from like the gunfight.
That's what I was gonna say. There's your Bayism. Is the normal person going like, that was crazy?
All I want to know about is, do you like your haircut?
Yeah, you remember Boston Common? This is the sequence I was talking about. This has so many great like just setups of people minding their own business, like that guy hanging out by his bike, and then like, oh god, car chase.
Yeah.
Like, the car chase in The Rock does the same thing with
that is
just like.
That's also so much better if you know San Francisco, because it follows a pretty cohesive loop, and then it just randomly cuts to the other side of the city and something explodes, and then it cuts back to like this believable car chase.
Just detoured for the explosion.
That was the worst part about living in LA and watching 24. Was like this when they were in LA, it was always like they got out to like Pomona in a commercial break, and it's like no. That's impossible. So here's another like, of course this chase runs through a bikini model shoot.
Amazing. Oh, peak Bay.
And just white, just a total white room. Here's some more people.
Here we go.
Casual standing by. I'm telling you, it's great. It's one, and it's honestly it's a trope that borrows from the Bond movies quite a bit. Like John Glenn's Bond movies, which he did a couple of the Connery ones and most of the Roger Moore ones, if I'm remembering right. But anyway, if you think about like Moonraker and Octopussy in these movies, where it's just like a boat chase through Venice, and it's just like people just like hanging out, and then all of a sudden there's a car chase going past them.
But what makes it Bay is the idea that you would cut to the guys in the wheelchairs coming back from the basketball court before the characters you're interested in see them or know they exist.
Right.
As if like, hey audience, I'm throwing this shit at them.
Right.
Throwing that shit at them.
It's honestly
in like movie rules, you're supposed to see what the characters see and know what they know. But I love that he's the kind of guy who'll cut to two dudes moving a plate glass window across the street. And you're like, here it comes, baby.
Which is great because like it's another thing where he is so actively building this movie for us, the audience. Like there's no pretense about like what he's doing. He's like, I'm making something that you will be excited to watch.
It's like an OK Go video. You're like, oh, let's watch this go.
There's
Yeah.
that. Look at
Here
that.
we
Look at,
go.
look
There
at
it
that. Look,
is.
yeah, it's doing it. Yes,
So
yes, it's
good.
going. It's going. Yes, turn
Arguably-
that. Get around. Yes. Ah,
Arguably,
shot. Yes.
invented the Avengers shot, which is so iconic now.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. And watching like there's nothing happening in the sky in that shot, which in later Michael Bay movies there'll be a helicopter flying in like opposite direction of the camera movement and like all of the things, the layers, and by the time you get to Pearl Harbor, there are guys like running out and we're circling around him, and you see like fighter bomber jets flying behind him, and like the amount of stuff that happens that he just keeps layering on top of his technique as his career goes on is really kind of fun to track.
And yet he's still up to the same old tricks. Like in Six Underground, he does the exact same thing. They're driving a car, and then suddenly you cut to a dog walker walking three puppies, and you're like, well, I assume we're gonna narrowly miss puppies now.
It's fun though. Like it's such a fun tech.
How is Six Underground? Is it like good Bay? Like is it?
It's
too much filler for me, honestly. The set pieces, but the set pieces themselves still bring it.
The set pieces themselves were all really good. There was there was such an effort to tell a story from set piece to set piece to set piece that I almost wish that they just skipped that part. Like
they seemed like they
could have
thought
been,
it was a common premise to get across, and it wasn't. It's just been like,
of
this is happening, and you're like, okay.
Because ultimately, like that's how it plays, right? It's like, this is happening, and I'm sitting there going like, yeah, great, no, it's totally happening. You're absolutely right. And then there are these middle parts that I'm just like.
This scene right here, this resonates with me because I love the sort of weird trope of just a gigantic nerd who's not. He's like not really threatening, but sort of is. But you're not like, what's the relationship?
Man Beetle on YouTube, watching on IGN, has just asked, are those long lenses in the action shots very Tony Scott? Which you're absolutely right. It is. We're somebody else picking up on the Tony Scott aspect of anytime there's a really tight, and Bay always does it through the windshield of a car in a car chase, right? Like directly over the hood through the car chase, super tight shot on the protagonist in the car on a real long lens, and it's bouncing all over the place, and you can't see their mouths at all, so they can say whatever they want. They'll do it in post, and it'll be great. Whatever quip they want about like whichever. If it's the wheelchair guys or the guys carrying the plate glass window that they narrowly missed, like whatever they have to comment on, they can do it later, which is
the fruit vendor with 1 day till retirement.
I just had one more pineapple to sell.
If I just unloaded these guavas, I could pay for your college, but no.
Yeah. I want to see like a movie do the long con version of that, where it's like the person who's going to move the plate glass window like wake up in the morning. Like amidst all the action heroes, like the grand finale is the plate glass window getting shattered and the fallout from. But it's like you see 2 cops waking up and doing their daily things, and then there's the plate glass window mover who wakes up, and it follows all of them, and then they just.
You see him like laboriously polish the glass, and so it's like you always treat the project so personally, it's just blowing glass, and he's like, yes, but it reminds me of my daughter who I've lost touch with. This piece of glass.
I want like a plate glass window shattering scene. It handles it the way that Mindhunter handles the BTK killer.
Yep.
Like, give me that long setup.
And then also making a costume drama.
Speaking of costumes, I have the shirt Martin Lawrence is wearing. It makes me feel cool. I have a shirt from 1995.
Do you think that was held over from the wardrobe that they were going to use when John Lovitz was going to play that character?
I would have loved seeing John Lovitz wearing Dana Carvey's clothes.
Now that was another beat that just happened where they go up and these guys, these other detectives that they've been rivals with the whole movie, like the great buddy cop action movie trope of like, hey, we're gonna go face down almost certain death. You guys in? They're like, yeah, sure. Just like super casual about like, oh yeah, no, totally.
Was there ever a time where maps, like street maps on computers, were bright green? like DOS style readouts, like we just
Impossible
saw Joey
to read.
Pants accessing. That seems like a hard to read map, yeah, for the police station to use.
That's what I do love. High tech computers in the 80s and 90s in movies
Oh,
that just
phenomenal.
never existed, but they look like all the monitors and everything in the original Alien, stuff like that.
Yes.
Are just like this sort of vector graphic kind of.
I'm actually sad that it seems like as we reach technological singularity, we're getting better at that. Like the Minority Report system, if you use VR headsets now, it kind of is basically that is what it feels like. You grab your menu and do that. I miss the days where they were like, in the future, you'll wear a helmet with a crank on it, and it'll make the game go. I like when we were way off. It was super fun.
I do appreciate looking at like what the past thought the present would look like or future. It's just like, what year are we in now? Like, what movie took place in 2020, and like, how wrong were they?
I think
this
Bay's
guy.
use of the DOS computer stuff is honestly like just it's sheerly aesthetic, like in the same way that the night vision goggles are just way too green.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff doesn't. It's not that neon, you know. It's just he wanted something. He wanted a little color in there.
Yeah, I mean, you want, especially with the way the films are cut, and with the thinking behind the edit style in these movies being like, you know, all super flashy, make it interesting, and dynamic, and then just like to have something that reads as map on a computer screen in half a second, like.
Well, there's like
meanwhile a garbage truck drives through a building.
There's your budget.
Yeah.
You cannot kill me. I am John Lovitz.
Damn, they used 2 squibs for that. That looks
front and the back. The connected line. That was good. Yeah. Squibbing is an art we're losing.
Yeah. We actually talked with Lee Winnell about that when we were watching the Invisible Man, because there's a great shot in the Invisible Man where a guy gets shot in the knee, and it's just the most fabulous, goopy, like throwback Paul Verhoeven squib.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean the digital stuff, like you can tell, and it's no good.
Yeah, I'll be fine. I'm not like a purist or snob. I'll be fine when you can't tell the difference. I don't have a romantic attachment, but you can tell still. Even in the like John Wicks, I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like mostly it's weirdly a nostalgia thing, right? Because like I grew up in the 80s and 90s watching all of these movies that were all practical action effects.
Where there was always a propane tank when you needed one.
And why are you taking cover behind it?
That's true. No Trevelyan. I'll tell you, the palpable tension that the stream will dissolve at any instant, adding so much to the experience. There's your ticking clock.
How much time do we have before the internet craps out again?
Yeah. It's not tonight that FF7 Remake is available, right? It's tomorrow night. Oh, what's tying everything up?
Yeah. And this is going to be a part of the show where we sort of quietly watch this really well conceived and executed action sequence. That shot there of the dude flying out of the plane.
2 more.
Yeah.
You know what else I like is I like that you forgot your boarding pass.
Yeah.
Because like that's like a no ticket, but like I don't know, maybe that was improvised. I don't know.
But also, I mean, that's a thing that it only exists in in the worlds of these movies. Right? Like the action movie, you got to say what's up right before you shoot that guy, and you got to say
You
forgot
ever shot a
your.
guy? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, I could be wrong. You might have to do
There's
that.
got to be somebody, like there was that one insane cop who like Dirty Harry was based on. There's got to be somebody out there who's actually that much of a psychopath that they were like, I'm going to crack a joke before I murder.
Imagine,
you'd think so.
Imagine you're really worried for your life and about to take a human life, and your brain stops to think, what should I say, though? What should I say?
Well,
It's got to be good.
If you can't laugh at it, you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
Although I will say, like, in that regard, in the one-liners in action movies topic, Last Action Hero was, I think, so far ahead of its time. Like, it was making fun of the movies that we were still into. And so, like, Schwarzenegger walking up and saying, like, are you a farmer? Here's a couple of acres, and then kicks a guy in the nuts. Like, that's it's so perfect, and it's good for what it is. And but it's also like, that's a thing that shouldn't exist ever. It should only exist in these weird in these weird movies. But it's part of the deal. It's part of the thing that we accept with like these bonkers action movies.
Shh, everything's blowing up.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll stop talking.
No.
Agreed. No, I'm with you.
That's awesome, though.
The abandoned fireworks factory.
There is 10 of the 20 million.
Yeah.
Fine, just had a little run-in with your friend Jim Brown over here, but I'm fine.
Apparently, this was a factoid that has been thrown at me. Téa Leoni was accidentally knocked out by Martin Lawrence's stunt double at some point.
Was what? Knocked out?
Yeah, she got knocked
boy.
unconscious by Martin Lawrence's stunt double. I don't know if it was during that scene. It was the AK-47 under the jaw that got her.
I don't know if we've gotten there
I
yet.
don't know. Yeah,
That happens
gotta
more
be-
than you think. We talked about in our 9 Facts and a Lie about Terminator 2. Arnold knocked John Connor out on the motorcycle in the LA freeway, spinning the shotgun over and over. It would keep clipping him in the head. Yeah.
Oof.
And then the other one I know is Princess Bride. Christopher Guest, the man with 6 fingers, when he knocks Carrie Ellis out with the hilt of his sword, he really knocks Carrie Ellis
knocks him
out.
out.
In the shot that's used in the cut, you're watching
you
Carrie
better.
Ellis get knocked out. Yeah.
That's the thing. Like whenever doing something stupid like that. Swam, you're from sketch. You know what it's. It's like the thing that you say right before you do something stupid is like, look, if something happens, you better use this shot.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. My knees are ruined because of a couple sketches. Like, I remember what I did that ruined them.
Oof.
Oh, how are they going to get out of this one? Oh, they don't. That's a twist.
Well, yeah.
No, I mean, like,
yeah.
I was like, how will the spinning car? But it doesn't. It slams into the wall.
No, it
Yeah.
doesn't. That was a cool car
Yeah, that was
that
great.
that bad guy just wrecked.
That's also
Hopefully
like
it was
a really
fake
that's
cool
a
car that they wrecked.
that's a really economical way to like have a big budget explosion scene and a big budget chase scene without, like, they just did it in an airport. Like, it's just all
Yeah.
tarmac shots.
Barely have to shut anything down.
Two cars just driving real fast next to each other.
That man would be fluid at this point.
Yeah, he's a sturdy bad guy. Oh, is it the Fargo ending? Gonna shoot him in the back? Spoilers for Fargo.
What? Is Téa Leoni like whispering bloodthirsty thoughts into his ear at this point?
He is worth killing. Kill the shit
Do
out
it.
of
Be the
him.
man.
Wait till he's right on the middle of the X, then shoot him. That'll look the best. Man, if you just cut in to this sequence with this score, you would think that this poor man who got shot in the knee is like a hero tragically
Yeah.
losing there.
There we've finally got our helicopter flying at sundown shot.
You think like one guy couldn't find the keys to his car and he's like, screw it, I'll just take the helicopter with the rest of these guys.
Right.
Well, it was amazing earlier that they had that bridge scene where one of the issues was, a news camera's here in a helicopter. And thinking about budget conservancy on shoots like this. Today, that would have been an extra pulls out their cell phone. I love that in this day and age, they're like, how can we believably have them get caught on camera? A fucking whole helicopter comes.
whole helicopter.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
We talk about how cell phones break a lot of cinematic stuff, but
No.
they also allow a lot of like weird leeway like that, like plot device.
Oh yeah, people holding up their cell phone camera is now embedded in filmic grammar and will be for a bit. Ooh, the halo. Did you see that? The Jesus effect around Will Smith's head.
And here comes a full-barrel Derringer.
No! Now who's laughing?
I remember this shot really well, probably because they show it 18 times.
Uh-huh. Just a reflection playing across his buddy's face. Turn and shoot. He's good at his job.
Leone adjusts an earring and he's like, whoa! Oh, close. That was very...
Yeah, she was looking at her watch.
Yeah. I love that good-natured laugh that you share when you've killed many people. That's multiple buddy cop movies. Is everyone dies and you fade to, wow, man, wow, what a day.
And in this case, it's literally what's next. Like, what are we doing now? Like, let's go.
You guys hanging out later? What do you want to do? Game night?
No, I love that. I mean, again, it's that action comedy, like heightened reality where like, it's like, yeah, no, we're fine. Everything's fine. We survived, even though like so many people didn't.
You got him. Right here. That's Mike. Oh, Mike Larry. I'm going home to my wife to get my...
Oh, Mike Larry.
Marcus, why don't you stop playing, man? I've been beat 3 times since we've been out here. I'm cool, man. Back up. Don't need no help. Why you going home to your wife? You got shot in your leg. Your dick probably don't even work.
Yep. That's being married, guys.
That's a Will Smith ad-lib.
I'm getting another factoid thrown at me here. According to Michael Bay on the DVD commentary, he actually had a fight with Will Smith over the ending. And before they shot the ending, Will finally agreed that he would say "I love you" to Martin Lawrence. But then the day of the shooting, he changed his mind, didn't want to say it, and they fought about it for a couple of hours about why they should say it. And by the end of the fight, Michael Bay told Will that he didn't care anymore because he only had about 15 minutes to shoot the ending by that time anyway, or they didn't even have an ending.
And then he said it.
Yeah. In the senior shot, Will says, "I love you." And that's the shot up here. So apparently thought about whether or not they were going to say "I love you" so much that they lost the light. And that was the only one they got, I guess, which is
interesting.
Wow. Fascinating. Well,
time has changed rapidly. I don't think that would be an issue for many actors anymore. You want me to say "I love you" to the other guy in the movie?
I guess it was a character thing. He's like, no, Mike Lowry doesn't say "I love you" to literally anybody, even his best friend, who's,
that argument I could see if he's dug in on
that had to have been
the character. Yeah.
Well, Swain, what did you think, man? Is your first time seeing it? Kind of a little bit. I actually saw even less than you thought because there were parts where I just got audio and then occasional still frame. So
I think there might be something about these bad boys.
Yeah.
A
couple more movies at least.
I see why it stands as a seminal classic in the genre, and it was very interesting to unpack the very specific nuances of what separates this from other action comedies and how it really is a leader in its field as far as the comedy side goes. Yeah. I enjoyed it a lot. I'll watch it for real, for sure, soon. So if that's any sign, I want to know why some of the things happened. Yeah.
Yeah. I've always sort of enjoyed that movie. I think the second one is, undeniably like much more impressive, but it's still like this. It's interesting. It's weird watching Michael Bay without a gigantic, ginormous budget and total like carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wants. It's also weird to be like, this was Will Smith's first action movie, and he's in everything now. You know,
Right.
That's what we think of him for.
Yeah, I was just trying to imagine a time where it was the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and doing Bad Boys, and then like I don't know what the equivalent of that would be today. I mean, I guess maybe it'd be like one of the kids from Stranger Things all of a sudden is in a giant R-rated action movie. I suppose could happen, but
I mean,
don't know.
it would
It's strange.
It would probably
It's
be
just-
like,
it's a hard movie to watch in the context of when it came out, I think, because Will Smith is who is and Michael Bay is who he is at this point. That like it's an interesting watch.
I'm glad we watched it.
I'm glad we watched it. Well, thank you for watching it with us. Happy 25th birthday, Bad Boys. Swaim got you some bananas. But thanks for joining us, guys, and also everybody that joined us and that is still around and that stuck with us through our technical difficulties. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. And come back next week. We're going to be watching Rogue One with Gary Whitta and Chris Weitz. So that'll be super cool.
That sounds great.
And in the meantime, go watch Bad Boys again.
Look,
Watch Bad Boys 2.
Martin Lawrence Bananas dressed as Will Smith Bananas. It all works out.
You took it to kind of a Silence of the Lambs place there.
Yeah, I guess it's a skin. Sorry about that.
All right, we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you very much.